Good morning and welcome to Digital Dealer Webinar Series. Today's webinar is titled The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and will be presented by Tim James. Tim is a dynamic leader and sales strategist with more than 20 years of achievement and demonstrated success in driving multi-million-dollar revenue growth while providing visionary leadership in highly competitive markets. Besides being one of the automotive industry leading experts on online best practices, Tim has published many best practice articles, participated in many online educational seminars, and is a regular speaker at many of the automotive industry's top e-commerce and online marketing seminars. Please welcome Tim James.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the awesome introduction, and thank you for everybody that's joining us this morning. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and I think that's a big testament to you guys and your commitment to success over there. So I will try to make this as quick as possible so we have some time for questions at the end, and hopefully the information will be very beneficial to you. So that's my goal. The number one thing that we want to talk about today is that your marketing, whether it's through television, radio, newspaper, billboards, everything online, and in particular your website, which is going to be our focus today, is only as good as your call to action. You can have a beautiful website. You can have a lot of good information on your website. You can do a great job merchandising your inventory, so on and so on. But if you don't have not just good call to action, but a lot of times the right call to action, then all of that is for naught, and you just won't get the kind of conversion, the engagement from the shopper, and the conversions that you need to get. So that's what we're going to talk about. There's really four fundamental rules to call to action that we're going to focus on today. So first is call to action itself, and what call to action is the words that urge your readers, your listeners, your viewers, whatever they might be, to take immediate action. So this definition is extremely important when thinking about your website, thinking about the buttons that you have on your website, the behavior that you're wanting to achieve from your website visitors, and how they associate with those buttons. So I used to always talk about the goal, the ultimate goal of all online marketing being to get someone off of the internet and onto your lot so that you could sell them a car. And I don't, I put a big X over that because that's not my definition anymore. Today, the definition is to get the shopper off your internet and onto your lot before they visit someone else's lot. The average consumer today only visits an average of 1.4 dealerships before making a purchase. In the old days, you had more time. In the old days, a shopper may visit 2, 3, 4, 5 different dealerships before actually making a commitment and purchasing a car. Today, you don't have that opportunity. You don't have that flexibility. You have to find a way to reach up into the buying cycle and get the shopper off of the internet and onto your lot as quickly as you can, because if they visit someone else's lot first, chances are you've just lost your shot. So you have to be first. I call it the yes pyramid. I call it, first and foremost, I look at it, I view it as a pyramid and not a funnel, because if you call it your funnel, then it makes it sound like once somebody falls in to your funnel, that there's no way for them to get out. They have to go all the way down through the funnel and then come out on the other end, and that's just not the case. You have to walk your shoppers through a series of yeses in order to ultimately get to the MAC yes, which is, will I buy a car from you? And before they'll buy a car from you, you have to get them to make this biggest commitment of visiting your store, which is often the number one most difficult thing to do, yet still the number one thing, the number one objective, the number one thing we're trying to accomplish. So, will I engage your search engine marketing ad? Will I visit your website? Will I, once I'm on your website, will I engage your website and click through into your inventory? When I'm on your vehicle listings page, am I going to click on a vehicle and engage the vehicle? When I'm on the vehicle's display page, will I click one of your buttons and engage you in a communication about something? All of those things require that the shopper says yes, 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 and continues to move up the pyramid. Meanwhile, there's a lot of things not working in your favor. The time's not working in your favor. The more time that the shopper is sitting in front of the computer, engaged in a search, the more things are going on in their life that can distract them. They have kids hollering at them. You got to fix dinner. You've got this going on and that going on. If they're at work, co-workers comes in and asks them a question. All kinds of things that distract from the search process. Phone rings. You get a text message. Email pops in. Just life in general is a big enough distraction. But then particularly for the lower funnel or the lower pyramid shoppers, as they're looking, bouncing around the web, chances are they're looking at your competitors' websites too, whether it's directly on their websites or looking at their vehicles on a third-party listing service, AutoTrader or Cars.com, something along those lines. Chances are they're being pulled in a lot of directions, and all of these people are trying to get that shopper to say no to you and bounce over to their pyramid, and so they can walk them up the pyramid and get to the ultimate yeses. So it's an ongoing battle. And these shoppers that are lower pyramid shoppers, really, they don't like the amount of time that they're investing, having to look at this website and this website and this website and this website. They want to narrow it down. They're in a process of elimination. They're more focused on eliminating potential sources as they are what vehicles you have and whether or not they would want to visit your store to buy one of those vehicles. So they're on your website for a completely different purpose. You have to have the right words that talk to them specifically if you want to continue to get your yeses effectively and move them up the pyramid. So again, the definition of call to action are the words that urge that immediate action. And unfortunately, a lot of times what we're focused on is words for the call to action that we have are words that tell the viewer, tell the visitor what they can do, not necessarily why they should do it. So this is going to be an important part of our conversation. It's one of the basic fundamental rules. But let's start with this one. This one, first and foremost, too many buttons, too much call to action is bad. We can debate it all day long. We don't need to. It's a fundamental rule of marketing. There's been study after study after study. Every single study that's ever been done has proven 100% conclusive that too many buttons are bad. There was even one just done, an article just published on the 14th, just a couple days ago, through HubSpot about the same thing. It's about call to action, and one of the fundamental aspects of call to action, too many buttons are bad. It's because of the two major factors. One, the time involved. Not just because of all the different things that the shopper has going on in their life, like we talked about a second ago, but also because the more time it takes for our brain to process, the more information that we have to process, the more time it takes to process that information. The more time it takes for us to process that information, the fewer decisions we ultimately start making. Our brain starts getting tired, and we go into you know what, forget about it, I'm just not going to make a decision. And ultimately, by having too many buttons, that's exactly the position that we're putting the shopper into. And ultimately, that means they just don't make a decision and they leave. They leave your page and they go somewhere else. The other is the fear and anxiety of the choices. The fear that if I choose this one, maybe I'm making the wrong choice, or should I choose this one instead? Man, there's all these different things to pick from. Here's the information I want. Which one should I check? What if I click the wrong one? and factor the time factored into the if I click the wrong one and I spend invest all this time into looking at this and being on this page, and then have to go back and try it again. So ultimately, again, it leads in fewer decisions being made. The shopper bounces. So first rule, just keep it simple. Focus on the behavior that you want. We're going to talk a lot about this significantly more, but then don't duplicate buttons. There's a lot of times I see this when I pull up somebody's website. I see all these buttons over here. Then there's other buttons located at other spots on the website that aren't even in the menu or near the menu, completely different parts of the page. And in a lot of cases, they're asking the same question. There's one over here for value my trade. Meanwhile, I've got another button in my menu that says value my trade. I've got get financed, and meanwhile I've got a get finance button down here. Which one do I click? Which one's going to be better? Which one's going to be more, give me more of what I'm looking for, and so on and so on. These are all the things, the dilemma you're putting your shoppers through. And ultimately, what you're doing, as crazy as it sounds, is you're getting less conversion because you have more choices. And the biggest thing that we want to talk about right now is this isn't call to action anyway. These are buttons. It's the button isn't the call to action. It's the words that you use to motivate someone to click the button that's the call to action. We have a lot of things backwards with a lot of our on a lot of our websites. We don't have any words that motivate the consumer to take immediate action, that tell the consumer what to do. Here's an example from Skype that I pulled out. Here's their button, download Skype. But then they tell the consumer, here's what you do, here's what you get, here's what's in it for you, Mr. Consumer, if you click this button. It's the why should I do it that is the call to action that is going to determine, once you have fewer buttons and aren't confusing the shoppers, that it's going to determine whether these buttons are successfully being clicked or not. Because unfortunately, when we just have make me an offer or get this e-price, you're asking the shopper to think. You're not telling them what they get. Once they click the button, a nice little window opens up. And now you've got some decent call to action, but you're putting the cart before the horse. You're asking the shopper to take an action without ever telling them why they should take the action. And then once they take that action, then you're telling them why they should take the action. So this is call to action. This is what a button should look like. So having these, just the simple, non-informative, no motivation to click it is going to significantly reduce the amount of people that are actually clicking your buttons and clicking through and following these actions. So if you don't want to take up all the real estate to have the complete form and everything associated with this call to action visible, that's fine. You can make it look like the little button over here. But again, you've got the words that motivate. Enter your information, you will receive. Those are the motivational words. You're going to receive something special even. It's going to get a special quote. So here's what's in it for you, Mr. Shopper. If you click this button, here's why you should do it. That is effective call to action. That will increase your click-through rates pretty dramatically. So now we got to determine, what behavior do you want? What do you want your shoppers on your website to do? Some of the different things that we see is a lot. Everybody's got the chat buttons, and you know, some of the chat features as they're floating around on your web pages, some of them have decent call to action on them and do give a little description of what the shopper is going to get if they click to chat with you. If yours doesn't, if yours just simply click here to chat, you need to adjust it and put some better content and make sure that the shopper understands what they're going to get if they do click to chat with you. We have a lot of email me. That's what all of the forms that all the buttons that you have right now, and every single one of those times they ask them to fill out a form, it's email me, email me, email me. There's not a whole lot of call me out there, but the number one thing we want is visit me. And there's probably the call to action that we have the least of on our websites. Again, this is our goal. Get off the internet, get onto my lot before you visit someone else. This is the behavior you want from everyone who visits your website. Now, in achieving that behavior, you have to say the right words. If this is what we want, then we have to make certain that, again, first and foremost, you have the call to action to come visit me, not just a fill out this form and I'll email you. Fill out this form and I will send you an email. There's zero call to action in any of these forms that are out there right now on why someone should visit you. So if you want that behavior, you have to ask that behavior from your visitors in your call to action. So how do we do that? How do we prompt the number one goal that we want with the call to action that we have on our websites? Again, going back to the pyramid, we have to remember different people are in different places in the buying cycle. The different places in the buying cycle means we have to give a different call to action. We can't have the same words to everybody and expect the same response. It won't work. There's a lot of other things that influence where they're located at. Are they closer to one of your competitors than you? What other websites were they on? There are things that make each of those shoppers more valuable to us. They're someone that is higher on the pyramid. They're getting closer to making this Mac yes or visiting a dealership, and unfortunately, they haven't made up their mind whether it's going to be you or one of these other guys, and you're not asking them. You're not saying the words that they want to hear, that they need to hear to get them to make that decision to pick you. All kinds of variables that go into influence, and it's different. For the words you need to say are different based on a lot of different factors. And this is probably our biggest problem that we have for all of our call to actions, not just coming in to visit me, but everything else too. And that is that first and foremost, everybody on your site, they're in different categories of the buying cycle. So just as too much call to action is bad is a fundamental rule, here's another fundamental rule. Only 2 to 3% of the population of the people visiting your website, by definition, are a now buyer for a vehicle. The other 97 to 98% of the people on your website are divided into two categories, either potential prospect or future potential. Marketing your website is designed to reach up into the buying cycle and turn potential prospects into now buyers. That's your goal. Unfortunately, the now buyer is the only one out of all of those people who will communicate with you, who wants to communicate with you regarding a decision to purchase. By definition, that's why they're a now buyer. They are there to communicate with you regarding a decision to purchase. Everyone else, the other 97, 90%, are not. So this is the number one biggest problem with most of the websites out there, is that your current call to action, and what call to action you do have, whether it's hidden or not hidden, and your incentive and offer behind your call to action is all but focused on the now buyer. It's focused on the 2 to 3% of the people that are that are there and already ready to make a decision. Meanwhile, there's another 40+% of people out there that we can influence, that can be moved in the buying cycle while on your website, and can be converted into a now buyer. And that's hopefully for all of you on this call, that's why we're here. How can we reach up? We're getting 5, 6, 7% conversion from our website right now. How can we turn that into 12, 14, 18, 20% conversion? And those numbers are possible. First and foremost, you have to understand what it is we're talking about, and that is for your current strategy will reach up another 2 to 3% and convert those very bottom potential prospects into now buyers. The was-is pricing, your manufacturer incentives, if you buy my car, then I'll take another I'll give you another $250 or $2,000 towards your trade-in. If you buy my car, I'll give you an extra $250 off the price of the car. If you buy my car, it was priced at this, I'll sell it to you for this now. If you buy my car, I'll do this. If you buy my car, we have these manufacturer rebates. Everything is based off of the offer of if you'll buy my car and the incentive of I'll do this with the price. And that's great for the now buyer. That's why they're there. These are exactly now buyer call to action, now buyer price, now buyer or offer, now buyer incentive, and it will reach up another percent or two. But the rest of the people on your website, that leaves 95+%, 90%, 95% that do not care about your price. They're not there to buy your car. They're there to look. They may have questions about this particular make or model. Do things come with this? Here are some specific needs I'm going to have when I am further in the buying cycle and when I am ready to have a conversation with you about a decision to purchase. But that's not right now. Unfortunately, to even engage your ads and even click one of your buttons mentally to the shopper, we're asking them to be prepared to have a discussion with me about a decision to purchase, because that's the only offer and only incentive that you're offering to them. So the reason that's such an issue is, first and foremost, again, time and fear. We're asking the shopper to, when all they see are all these buttons, you're asking them to engage you for something that they don't even know what they're engaging you about. What does it mean if I click this? What am I going to get? There's no, why would I take the time to do that? Why would I take the time to click the buttons and try to figure it out? And ultimately, they end up just not engaging you. And the biggest reason is fear and anxiety. Again, just because they have questions with you, all they're seeing is, if you buy my car, I'll do this with the price. All they're seeing from you are, we want to talk to you about purchasing our vehicle. That's all they see on your website. And they are not ready to be beat up about buying a car. And that's the fear. Even though if you got them on the phone, you may not beat them up about buying a car. They don't know that. And that's the fear that people in this world have about car dealerships. Shoppers, consumers have a huge fear about having a simple conversation with a car salesman, because you're going to beat them up about buying a car. So how then do we engage that higher level shopper? How do we get them to your lot? And it's simple. Change the offer, change the incentive. This is exactly what every definition of call to action is about. Saying the right words to the right shoppers. Every definition of call to action, every survey every study, every report that you will ever read about call to action will tell you you have to say different words to different shoppers, particularly when they're in a different place in the buying cycle. Change the offer, change the incentive. Here's how Microsoft does it. just a couple of days ago when I was putting this together, I happened to be looking for some new Microsoft products. I wasn't ready to buy. I was looking, and I came across them saying, hey, you know what? We understand you're just looking, that you're not ready to make a purchase yet. Why don't you try it free for a month? You don't have to worry about making your decision to purchase yet. Answer all the questions you have just by trying our product. Reaching up higher into the buying cycle, significantly higher in the buying cycle than just offering a discount on the price is going to be. They have offers out there too for, I'll give you a discount for this, a discount for that, this much off, so on and so on. And those are effective for the very lowest level of the funnel. To the now buyer, to definitely make the now buyer want to do business with you, there was his pricing, and to reach up another percent or two. But you're not going to go beyond that. You go beyond that by having a different offer and a different incentive for people who aren't ready to make a decision to purchase with you. That's what it comes down to. How to motivate a behavior. What behaviors do you want? The number one behavior we want is to get them to our lot. So let's stay focused on that. Motivate a behavior, with that behavior being visit my lot. Visit my lot to do what? Well, we want them to visit to take a test drive. Those of you who are in a BDC center have these conversations with your people when you're calling them all day long. Every day you're having a conversation. You got the lead that comes in, or someone's called you on the phone, and you have to now try to determine, am I trying to schedule an appointment to get them down here to take a test drive? Am I trying to schedule an appointment to get them down here for us to appraise their vehicle? Am I trying to get them to, what's their fear? Is their fear that if they come down, they won't be able to qualify for pricing? That's why I can't get them to get off the phone and come down to the dealership. These are the things that you're working on, and that's very simply the call to action that you need to incorporate into the visit me communication. So you have to create words that will motivate someone to visit you to come in and take a test drive, to visit you for a trade appraisal, to visit you for a no obligation finance evaluation, so on and so on. So here's some examples. Come visit me. We change the offer from buy my car and I'll sell it to you at this price to visit me and I'll pay you money. From buy my car and we'll give you a trade, we'll appraise your vehicle, to come in and let us appraise your vehicle and we'll give you money. From come in and do a financial credit evaluation about purchasing a vehicle, to come in and do a credit evaluation and we'll pay you money. So you change the offer, you change the incentive, you have a different conversation for people who are not ready to have a conversation with you about buying a vehicle. It has to be about something different. So you're going to reach people who are lower on the pyramid, who they're not up here already when they come to your website. They're still being pulled in a lot of different directions by all of your competitors. Yet all of a sudden you change the message that you have with them to get them to say yes to coming into your store sooner. Get them to come into your store a day, a week, a month before they would have normally done it. And 1.4 shoppers will buy after visiting, the average shopper will buy after only visiting 1.4 dealerships. You'll get around a 70% close rate if you can just get the shopper to your store. There's other things that influence the equation. Where are they? It's a significantly bigger decision to drive 25, 55, 100 miles to visit you than to visit a competitor, a dealership that is 3 miles away. That's a much bigger decision to the shopper. You have to say something different to them. You have to give them a bigger motivation. The words that you use to motivate the behavior you want has to be bigger. It has to be a bigger motivation. Same with people, depending on what website they were on. If they were on one of your competitors' websites and they leave that website and come to your website, it happens all the time, guys. If you look at your visitor report, your unique visitor report, 90% of you, it's going to say that 70 to 75% of the people who are visiting your website typed in your name or your website address and came to get to you. That means you've done a good job in your offline marketing. You've done a good job branding your website. And the people out there know your website address. And they're typing in www.abcdealer.com. So they're on or they've already been to your competitor. They've already been to you. They've already been to another competitor. And it's through 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks later, and they're coming back to do a search again. So they start to do the search, and Google has the long string results in there. Your full website address pops up. They click on it. Boom. Next thing you know, they're coming to your website directly from a competitor's website. They're coming to your website directly from AutoTrader, directly from Cars.com, directly from this trade magazine or website or this auto industry website. You need to know those things because those people, those shoppers, the words you use to motivate them to stop looking at everybody else, just talk to me and come visit me, are going to need to be different than the average everyday shopper who just pops onto your website. So there may be a message you want to give depending on the on-site behavior, how long they've been on your website, what pages they've looked at your website, what page they're seeing the offer on from your website, so on and so on and so on. A lot of variables that influence the exact words you want to use, but based on this information, the motivation may need to be significantly larger. So again, it comes down to how do we get this? And you're not going to get this by just using the same words for everybody. You have to use the right words with the right people. You have to use the right incentive. The incentive has to be a bigger incentive for certain people versus others, so on and so on. So I personally recommend utilizing gift cards. You've probably seen a lot of programs out there for this. There's a reason why I recommend gift cards. There's a lot of things you can do. You can offer oil change, free oil change. You can offer free winter tune-ups. You can offer free car wash. You can offer gift certificates to local restaurants. You can offer baseball tickets to your local sports team. There's a lot of things you can use to incentivize the shopper. The problem, the reason I recommend gift cards is you always want to make certain that when that shopper shows up, you're able to fulfill your obligation. So if you're doing baseball tickets, if you're doing football tickets, or you're doing this, that, the other, you have to inventory. And then when you're inventorying, you have accounting issues, and you got to keep track of things, and it turns into a headache. Most importantly, though, you got to make certain that when somebody you get 5 people show up one day, you've got 5 sets of baseball tickets available. Because if you don't, and you have to tell one of them, sorry, I don't have any tickets on hand, however, I'm going to go buy some, and I'll put them in the mail to you, you'll get them in a couple of days. It's going to have a huge impact on the close rate. Your shopper isn't sure what to expect when they fill out your form. They engage you for their incentive. They show up at your store. They're not certain what to expect. There's a lot of different things that in their mind can go wrong with this picture. You have to fulfill your obligation. Otherwise, they're going to go, oh, see, I knew it. I've been tricked. The old bait and switch. It's called the theory of reciprocity. It's the value of a promise kept. As soon as they walk onto the lot, you must immediately fulfill your obligation. In the shopper's mind, your salespeople are the bad guy. They don't like you. There's a fear of their salesperson. They know that as soon as they walk onto the lot, all your salesperson is going to try to do is talk them into buying a car. And they're not ready to have that conversation. I don't even want to talk to you, Mr. Salesperson. But if when they walk onto the lot, you fulfill your obligation immediately. We made a promise to you, Mr. Shopper, that if you came down here, we would give you this. You're here, here it is. You remove all doubt. The shopper will still do whatever action they've promised to do once they get down there. They'll still take the test drive. They'll still let you appraise the vehicle. They'll still sit with you and do a credit evaluation. They will still do that. But now the salesperson's the good guy. You did something for them. You remove the fear. They know there's not going to be any bait and switch. You know, you didn't trick them into coming down. And that positive relationship will have a huge impact on the close rate. We all know, we hear these reports for 10 years that the number one reason when a shopper does visit a lot and doesn't purchase, the number one reason they don't purchase is because they did not like the salesperson. You can change that. You can remove that from the equation. You can make your salesperson the good guy. You can take the I'm going to beat you up about buying a car out of the equation and make the visit about something else. And by relaxing the shopper, removing the fear and anxiety, you will greatly, greatly increase your close rate. How do you know if the words that you have, the call to action you're using, is working the best, the most effectively it can? Change it, test it, split test it. Have two versions running at the same time. Send half your shoppers to one, half the shoppers to the other. See which one's getting the best result. Take the best result, split test it again. Continue to test. Your website is a marketing tool. And in order to get the best results you can get from it, you have to take control of the situation, and you have to continue to make changes to improve and get better. Just sitting back and taking whatever it gives from you, that's the old way. It's the way auto dealership used to do it. You can't succeed, you can't survive in this world today without taking more control and making certain that your website is set up to perform at its maximum ability. So, the third of the four rules that we're going to talk about is the call to action has to stand out. Blending in is not going to be as effective. You have what's called passive and intrusive advertising. Every study that you will ever read will tell you that intrusive advertising will reach significantly higher up into the buying cycle than passive advertising. Passive advertising is good for the now buyer. Passive marketing is good for just giving information to the extremely high funnel shoppers. The other ones that are still in the future potential category and haven't even moved into the potential prospect category yet, passive advertising is great for them. But in order to reach up into the buying cycle, you must have intrusive advertising. And your buttons, your advertisement, your call to action not only needs to be on each page, it needs to be properly located on the page. So you have very valuable real estate on your website. You need to use the most valuable real estate on your website for the call to action that urges the immediate action that you desire the most. If the immediate action that you desire the most is to visit your dealership to do this or visit your dealership to do that, then you need to use the most valuable real estate on your website to promote that action. So those are the 4 rules, if you will, the 4 big things that we need to make sure that we're accomplishing. And I throw this one in here for you because I still go to websites, and it blows my mind, guys. I still go to websites and see that you have buttons, a call to action, that actually take people off of your website. Stop it. With the amount of money you pay for search engine marketing and for search engine optimization and for your website itself, all the effort you put into driving traffic to it, to then turn around and send somebody off, stop. Unless you control where it's going, unless you've built a microsite and you're sending somebody to a microsite that you own and control 100% of the content, you control what happens next. When the shopper gets off your website and hits this other page, if you don't have control of what happens next to that shopper, of where they can go from there, don't do it. I don't care what it is. Period, end of story. Don't do it. So, just wrapping it all up for you, your call to action is the best way, possibly even the only way, to make certain that you're getting the behavior you want, getting these lower funnel shoppers to your store before somebody else does. So with that, I think we have enough time we got about 10-15 minutes for some questions. No questions. That's awesome. This presentation will be available. I think that it's recorded so that you will be able to view it later. Otherwise, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to send you a PDF of it. And I thank you very much for staying on and listening to me ramble.
Thank you very much, Tim. We appreciate you and your presentation. It was very very informative.